listings and also, effective contract writing. And I'll start with the listing side. I think everybody here Clark, you're aware that we've got the digital presentations?
Yeah, I looked at those. Yeah, Vincent and I were emailing a little bit on it. Yeah, so I'm just learning obviously the emphases. That's good.
Okay, great. Well, the reason I brought it up, and I've got them to share if we need to, but this week, or when was it? I guess it wasn't this week because it's only Tuesday. God, I'm already thinking this week.
Feels like Thursday.
Over the weekend, I had a long conversation with a good friend up in Northern Virginia who's getting ready to put his house on the market, and obviously trying to get an outgoing referral. And we'll see if I get one, because he did allow me to refer 2 different people to him, but he wanted to interview at least 4. So I had two different people that I referred to him, but I ended up spending about 45 minutes with he and his wife, with him and his wife, and I literally did a little seller seminar, and it was kind of fun, just to kind of go through the things that I've gone through with you guys. But one thing that really jumped out at me, and honestly, it just happened while I was talking to him. It just made me realize how, and Logan McKeithen, you understand this because you've been saying this, but how COVID has changed just the way we go about doing things. And so I'm going through a bunch of different things. I just want to hit 2 or 3 things that I went over with him because I think they're helpful. But the first thing I realized is the way that we go about interviewing potential clients and marketing properties is changing. And I really believe that even when we get beyond all this mess, the way we go about doing things will not go back to the way it was before. There'll probably be some sort of hybrid, sort of in the middle kind of thing. But 2 things that jumped out at me. When you're thinking about doing a listing presentation, and some of you haven't done one yet, but when you think about doing a listing presentation, you want to take this online digital presentation that Vincent has worked on, and a number of us helped him edit and get it to where it was. And first of all, if you do it, if you use it and you come across things that we've forgotten, please let us know, because it's a dynamic scenario. We can change it when we need to. But the thing I want to share with you is, and this sounds crazy, but even if the seller wants you to come over and meet with them in person, whether you're comfortable with that or not, one of the things I just want you to think about is to say, you know what I'd really like to do instead is to set up a Zoom presentation with you. And the reason I want to do that is because it'll show you, how we have adapted to technology, how we've adapted to what really is a new way of communicating with people. And the point being is that you want to say to that seller, and I would encourage you to do the same if you're interviewing other people. I would encourage you to do the same with them, because here's the thing, without saying it, if they come back to those folks and say, well, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to FaceTime live with you, not FaceTime live, yeah, FaceTime live with you, what that says is that they aren't technologically in the ballgame. And that could be the differentiator for you as it relates to why they choose you versus somebody else. And so even if they do want you to meet in person and you're comfortable with it, one of the things that I would say in my presentation is, even though we're meeting in person, I just want you to know that I could have done all of this without coming here. We could have sat down and gone through all of this through a Zoom meeting, and me going through this online digital presentation with you. And the point being is, you're going to show that you're up and at 'em, if you will, in regards to the way things are doing things. The second aspect of this is, when you're doing that listing presentation, is the fact that they say, well, okay, well, what if I don't what if I don't, we don't meet in person? How in the world are you going to, how in the world are you going to be able to go through my house and see what I need to do or what I need to fix? And say, well, what I'd like to do is instead of doing that with you, I'll go to your house. You let me know when's a good time, not when a tree is going over my house, being removed from my house in a crane, of course, because I don't want to be in that house at that particular point. And Caitlin, you don't understand that because you're just coming on, but Vincent's got a tree, coming over his house today, being removed. But but what I want to do is I want to start from the driveway and bring you on FaceTime Live. And I want to walk through the house as if I was walking through with a buyer. And I want to go through your house and go from room to room and share the things with the buyer, but at the same time saying to the buyer, well, here's something that might need to get fixed, or what might have been nice if you did this. And what I'm going to do is show you how I'm going to go about marketing your home once it's listed, by creating a Facebook Live presentation, a tour of the house. And Caitlin, you did an awesome job with the one on Garth on Sunday. I thought
Oh, thank you.
that was really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And but anyway, so the point being is when you do that, and so if they ask another agent, hey, can we do a FaceTime Live and have you go through my house? And they go, what's that? Or, well, I haven't never done that, or whatever. You're showing that you're up to speed with the most recent things that are being used. And whether it's Vincent helping you with the Matterport 360 tour, if you want to do that, I mean that's a great thing. And we now have examples of that. So if you're in a listing presentation, and that might be something, Vincent, if we don't have in there already, to add into the digital presentation for the seller about the marketing and using the 360 tours. But whether it's the 360 tours or the virtual tours or whatever, the key is that you leave no stone uncovered. that the things that you're talking to the seller about are things that you don't want to not get the listing because they say to you, oh, well, you didn't have this, or you weren't going to do this, when in fact you didn't think it was a big deal, so you didn't bring it up. And boy, that's the last thing you want to kick yourself over, the fact that why didn't I have that in my presentation? So those are just a couple of things that I know I haven't talked about before when I've talked to you guys about listings and presentations and stuff, because they're just brand new. And if it hadn't been for this conversation that I had with these friends of mine up in Northern Virginia, when I was giving them ideas and everything, I thought, oh my gosh, I've never told my agents, that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just from a confirmation standpoint, and I'm open it up, for questions or thoughts that you have in a minute. But the other thing that came up that was confirmation to me is that they had several agents already reach out to them saying, hey, if you're thinking about selling, please let me know, because I've got buyers, or we've just sold a house in this area and we've got other buyers. I think there were 2 or 3 agents that they were already poised to call, because they had kept those letters. So one, just because you don't get an immediate response to the letter that you send out into a neighborhood, don't think that that's not tucked in someplace, so that when they go, so when they go from passive to active, they pull that sucker out of the drawer or the shoebox or whatever filing system they have and say, okay, I'm going to, reach out to Caitlin. I'm going to reach out to Clark, because they sent that to me. So there were 2 different agents that they were going to call. And my guess is that they still are. Although like I said earlier, I did get a chance to at least get them 2 other referrals.
Can I chime in real quick, Michael?
Yeah, please.
I had a letter that I sent out. My parents moved here over a year ago, and I sent a letter out almost 2 years ago on their behalf. It got tucked away in a drawer. I am getting a listing, and that person called me I just got a signed listing agreement, and they're buying new construction with me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's patience, patience, but yes, that's just perfect example. 2 years ago, that guys, it takes time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, along with that, they got that letter, right? so then what I said to them is, okay, so you got a letter. If you call them and, one of the things you want to do is ask them, okay, we might be thinking about selling. Do you have a buyer? So you're calling their bluff, in essence of saying, and if you do the letter right, say you don't have a buyer yourself, but there are other Roy Wheeler agents that have a buyer. Well, then you put in the letter that we have buyers, that Roy Wheeler has buyers. And so if they ask you that question, you say, well, I don't particularly have a buyer right now. I just had one go under contract last week or whatever, but I've got 100 agents that the first thing I'm gonna do is reach out to them and say, hey, I'm getting this listing. Do you have anybody that might be interested? So that's how you want to be ready to handle that question if it comes up when you send the letter. And then the second part of that is, if they do, this is the time to have that conversation with the seller about, well, that's great, and it may work out perfectly for you, but please understand that if they bring you a buyer, they're not going to be representing you. They're going to be representing that buyer. And so I would still welcome the opportunity to show you how I'm going to market your house to get it sold. Let's just say for the sake of discussion that those buyers come and they don't want to buy your house. I would be privileged to market your house to get it sold. But if one of those folks do bring the buyer, then I'm going to be in the place to represent you and negotiate for you and make sure that your interests are handled and cared for, and you're not at the whim of the buyer, because they had no clue about that. When I brought that up, they said, oh gosh, we hadn't even thought about that. We hadn't thought about the fact that we wouldn't be represented. And again, handling objection, they say, well, how would the commission work in that situation? I say, well, you're gonna pay the buyer agent, and you're gonna pay me as a listing agent representing you. And they obviously talked about getting a discount and those kind of things. He's been in the car business his whole life, so not only does he get that whole part of it, but because he was muckety muck with Nissan, he's gotten these unbelievable cars for a lot less. I've had him helping me look for a car for Dottie, and he said, oh, I wouldn't go with anything but the Platinum. And I said, yeah, but that costs that. He goes, oh yeah, I forgot, I never had to pay that amount. But anyway, the point being is, I explained to him that if I'm come in and I'm representing you, there's a good chance that I can negotiate a better price, given what the buyer agent is trying to do to represent his client. I'm going to come in, I'm going to help you get the best price possible, and the amount of money that you're going to pay me on the listing side, you might get me for free, because I may be able to, get you 3% more than you could have with this person coming in and doing whatever, or me coming in and sharing with you that, we might not want to just talk to this buyer. We might want to put it on the market and get multiple offers, so that, prices are going up. And it was just in the Washington Post this week. So it was really apropos. It was just in the Washington Post this week that, properties are selling for 10, 15, 20% more than what they're listed at in certain areas. And so you just take that one offer, you have no idea. I mean, Logan and John Green just went through this with the property on Bel Air, Canterbury. The wind just blew and everybody knew it was coming on the market, 10 days ahead of when it was supposed to come on the market. People are calling and whatever. And I talked to another agent just yesterday who has a property that might come on the market in there. And she said, there was just, basically a sneeze, and several people have already said, hey, if you're thinking about selling this, would love the opportunity to have that. So the point being is that bringing somebody in who really knows what they're doing, and you dealing with it up front, in regards to, that those kind of things happen. You're not leaving it to chance that they're going to go ahead and just do something without knowing, because the point I'm making here is they didn't know. When I educated them, they said, God, we didn't even think about that. And so again, from a listing standpoint, make sure that you've gone through the presentation, whether it's the digital presentation that we put together, whether it's the toolkit CMA. If you're interested, and Vincent, maybe you can chime in on this. but Virginia Gardner has found a new CMA. You know, there's always a new one, right? But it's a cloud CMA, and she just used it, and she said it was really good, and then it really helped her. She just secured a listing on Bunker Hill over there in Meadowbrook Heights. You know, I looked at what she sent me, and it looked pretty cool. And Vincent, I don't know if you can, you know, weigh in on that at all, because that's about as much as I know.
I looked at it, and she did a good job on that. It's lengthy, right? It has a lot. It's really lengthy, so I guess that's a good thing, I would assume. But what you could do was kind of tailor the look to kind of match all of our other marketing material, and that's, you know, a marketer's dream when everything is in concert with each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that the brokerage wants to take on, or is that an individual agent thing? I can research it and see.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we'll kind of wait and see how it goes, because there's, you know, obviously a cost to it. I personally think that the digital presentation we've put together, and then whether you attach it with if you're comfortable with the Paragon CMA or you're comfortable with the Toolkit CMA, blending those together, you've got the digital presentation, and then you also have the you know, the Toolkit CMA, where you can put in your own personal materials and things like that. And like Vincent said, then it becomes branded too. And that's another thing to make a note of, Vincent. Some of the stuff in Toolkit CMA probably needs to be a little bit rebranded. You know,
yeah, I got in there, and I was talking to Mary about that. I'm in the process of, among many other things, of trying to get everything together, right?
Yeah.
You know, you change one thing, and then the radiator goes out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. But anyway,
but
the
before
big thing
we go
is,
further, Clark.
Go ahead.
Clark and I have been talking about the presentations. There is a lot of text, right? And he had a good idea that maybe a quick video embedded in there. That's just a quick overview, maybe a couple-minute video at the top of it, might add value to it. Michael, you're good at this stuff.
I'm happy to do something like that. We just need to think about the other thing too, and we haven't used it in a while, but I was thinking about this just even this morning. We had that little digital link that had the 5 bubbles. You remember that? Chris had it. Anyway, you touch one of the bubbles and it expanded, and it gave you some additional information. Trying to figure out, maybe ask Mary about that, Vincent. She can probably find that link.
Prezi? Was it called
Prezi?
Yeah,
it's Prezi. Yeah.
You know, Sarah
I've used that a bunch. Yeah, it's good.
Sarah B, I don't have the login to that. I don't have any information. If I can find some information, I can get in and tweak it for sure.
Yeah. Prezi, P-R-E-Z-I, or P-R-E-Z-I, but
what I was thinking to go, I mean, I'm happy to do the video, but I was also thinking that if we went back to that thing and had the bubbles, and you clicked on about Roy Wheeler, and then it had bullets of several things, and in marketing it had bullets, and then you could have the digital presentation kind of be the, you know, the underpinning of it all. You know, oh, you want to, you and you know, I'm going to send you all this information, but these are the things I'm going to cover in our presentation.
That'd be awesome. And a part of the bubble have an example in there of the 360, so it's a one-stop shop.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like your style, Caitlin.
What do you think about that, huh?
I like what you're bringing.
You know, streamline, anything to streamline.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and we've done this with, especially with a lot of information, like in the financial realm. It's like, if you have, even if whether it's a video or a Prezi or whatever, just, you know, if there could be like something that could be shown in 1 or 2 minutes, that then if they have a particular instance, because what I like about Roy Wheeler, I mean, it's comprehensive. But like for most people, they're not going to read that, and they're going to want to look at things that, and if they have something that they're interested in, they might click on it. Or if you're in a presentation, right, it's like it's a blurb with maybe a 5 to 10 word summation of what, you know, highlights, and then you can click on it, and then it will open up that paragraph on that particular subject that sort of mirrors what we currently have now. I just think you could condense it by 80% and maintain the quality, keep the customer, you know, keep the client engaged, and allow you to highlight the things that are valuable to the client. Because if you just show them all of it at once, it's immediately intimidating, and that's coming from me, who at least has a semblance of what, you know, of what it looks like. or what the
As
product.
Michael has said before, send it ahead of time, send it the day before and say, hey, this is what we're going to be going over, but I wanted to send this ahead of time, because at their leisure, you know, at night on their iPad, they can go through it and look at it and have an idea of what you're going to go over. Or after your presentation, then say, and you know what, I know this is a lot, but I'm going to send it to you so that you can go over and look at it again in detail.
Yeah, and
That's
here's
exactly
the thing.
it.
I love all this. It's awesome, you know, and I'll get with Chris Sanders and maybe he can remember what the login is for Prezi. I'll text him and find out. But here's the thing, where I was going with this is, yeah, it's a lot of material. So is the contract. So is the exclusive right to represent agreement. So is the listing agreement. And what have I said in all those situations? You need to read through it and then put it in your own words. So you're not going to read through that whole listing presentation or the buyer presentation that we now have. You're going to say, just like Caitlin just said, you know, here's the information. Let me highlight the important things. And that's where the Prezi thing might be a cool thing, is to highlight, you know, the things that you definitely want to cover and to keep you on track. So you go into About Roy Wheeler and you got 2 or 3 things, and that puts you into your spiel for that part. And then you click on marketing and you highlight boom, boom, boom. And they've got and if you want more information, that's what's in this. Those presentations are really for your use, to make sure that you're going over versus, I mean, sure, they can find it on the website and look through it, but really the power of that is that you're going through and explaining it in your terms and in ways that, you know, that make you feel, you know, you're knowledgeable and you're natural and you're walking through it. But you know, absolutely, we can tweak it and I'll try to get with Chris to find out how to sign on to that Prezi thing, because you know, it's good stuff. It's just a matter of updating it a little bit.
And also, you know, this is much like a brochure that you would leave behind. This is a leave behind. This isn't something that you wouldn't open the brochure and go, okay, right here, we're going to start reading. This is about Roy Wheeler's legacy, 100 years of business.
Yep.
And you're going to, it's bullet pointed. So that's actually a resource and a leave behind for your potential clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a lot. It is a lot. But I think that is a good idea with a short video or some kind of condensed version in the beginning. And if they want to dig deeper, they can just scroll down, right?
Yep. Yep. And that's why we changed the buyer presentation one. We changed some of the order of it so that like that roadmap is at the beginning. So you can literally use that as, okay, as we go, if we start working together, these are the things you need to be aware of. You know, starting on the path, we got to get you pre-qualified and we got to do this. And so you got the roadmap, right? And you just do a real quick, you know, 45-second minute through that. Okay. And then you know, hit on the things so that the people understand the process. They understand what's going to happen, that they need to be pre-qualified and why, that we need this form signed and why, that you can help them with new homes, even though they thought maybe, why do I need an agent with new homes? That you can help them with for sale by owners. I mean, all those things are important because again, I learned just from talking, you know, I don't do this a lot because I don't sell, but just doing this presentation with my friends over the weekend to help them, you know, we assume too much. And the things I was telling them, gosh, I hadn't even thought about that or whatever. We got to understand that and make sure that we're giving people all the information they need to make an educated decision. And what we want to do, again, and not to, you know, beat a dead horse, but I'm going to beat it probably till I finish working. You know, we want to build rapport, we want to gain credibility, and we want to show people we care. So building rapport, you know, we're, you know, making sure we make some natural connections. We're gaining credibility because we have all this information for them, that they can really see what the process looks like and how it's going to go. And then we're going to show them we care by the fact that these are the things we're going to do to make sure you're comfortable throughout it. That there are going to be times where you're going to get fidgety or panicky or frustrated or whatever. And we understand that because we've been through it before, and we're going to point you back to where we were and make sure we're all on the same page, and then we're going to move forward. Anyway, any other questions or thoughts on the listing side of it? All right, so I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and go to the buyer side, because it's been an interesting few days with you guys and different people with working with buyers. And just a lot of things are coming up. And so I want to kind of, just make sure we're all on the same page on some of it. And then I want to see if you guys have some thoughts as well. Obviously we're in a market where there's a lot of interest in particular properties or particular locations. But then there's also, because there are multiple contracts, there's the chance, which happened a couple times this week, where other agents say, oh, we got a lot of interest, and there wasn't any other interest. But they were just trying to encourage people along. I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't any interest, but nothing else came that we thought we were going to make multiple contract presentations, and we weren't. And even, to give people the benefit of the doubt, even with the Canterbury house that John and Logan had, we thought we were going to have four contracts. Now we ended up with 2, but man, both of them were kind of last minute. I mean, we thought we had 4 contracts coming in the door, and then all of a sudden nothing was there. And we're thinking, oh gosh, we're going to look kind of stupid here because we said we're going to, look at contracts on Tuesday or whatever. And thankfully 2 came in, and they got, you've got a really good one. And hopefully that's all going to work itself out. But the point being is, I think we need to prepare the buyers for the fact that they, even if there's no contracts right now, that by the time we get it to the agent, well, what do you know? Another offer's come in, right? Now, what do you know might have happened, right? But what it could have happened was you told them that, that you were going to writing a contract, you get it to them by noon. And being a good listing agent, they start calling everybody that has seen the property and say, look, it looks like we're getting an offer. It's time. Or agents had said to them, look, I've got people interested. And if you get anything, or it looks like anything's coming in, let me know. So the thing that I really want to stress in what I'm saying here is, I think you should prepare your buyers for the fact that they will be in a multiple contract presentation. Even if you don't think there is anything, that you write the contract as strong as you can from the very beginning, unless Ryan and I were on he's not on today because he's writing a contract on some crazy property out in Crozet. It's been on the market for 340 days. There's a good chance, that nothing else is going to come, but that's just what happens. The karma of it all. You start writing on something that nobody wants, and now somebody else wants it. So, I was talking to him about the fact, just be careful. You think you're in the right strong position, and you are, because the house has been on the market for 340 days and it's got some issues, right? But as soon as you think that and you try to lowball the people, something else comes about, and then you end up not getting it, and you could have gotten it if you had been a bit stronger, right? And that's the same thing as it relates to the multiple contract presentation. That what you want your sellers to be in a position of, if it's just for the sake of discussion, that another agent that I was working with yesterday, that he's making an offer on a house, and I don't know what it's listed for, but they're gonna offer, $520, and it's $25,000 more than the list price, or what we're going to go in initially. And the reason they're going to do it is because what I said to them is that if there's some people sniffing around, what you don't want to have happen is your buyer find out that the house sold for $505 because they offered $495, when in fact they would have gone to $520, because that's when your buyer kicks themselves, that it's sold for a price that they would have gone with, except for the fact that they wanted to be, outsmart everybody and come in lower and see, what kind of deal they get. Now, the bottom line is, if that's what the buyer wants, then that's fine. But our job is to communicate and educate our folks. And what I want to share with you this morning is that I think we, right now in this marketplace, we need to come in as strong as we can, expecting that something else is going to be competing with us, so that our buyer has the best chance. And as I've said before, you always want to be number one on the runway. If there's more than one contract, even if you don't get what you want, or you've offered them something that's not quite right, if your offer is strongest, then you're going to be put in the primary position. And if you're in the primary position, now you're in control. Whereas if you get put in the backup position or the first backup position, you're not in control. You could raise your price and still not get it. So anyway, that being said, I'll just say things and then we can open up. As big an earnest money as you can get. If they've got, money, at least, I say at least 1%, but a minimum of 3%, in my opinion, 3% of whatever you're offering. I like 5% even better. I like 10% even better. If they're paying cash or they're going to put a lot of money down, we're going to write the contract in a way that they're going to get that earnest money back. But the stronger the earnest money, the better. Finding out from the listing agent about closing. When does the seller would be the best time for them to close? And as an example, with one I've been talking with over the last couple of days, the seller doesn't want to close till October, right? And so our offer is going to be a higher offer, but it's going to be contingent on the sale of these other people's home, which should sell pretty quickly because in the neighborhood it is, it's a pretty quick, listing to pending. And so the seller is okay. It's stunning. I was surprised, but the seller's okay with a contingent on sale home if in fact they can get their October closing. That was what was really important to them. So price is going up, contingent on sale of home, but the closing is exactly what the seller wants. Did somebody have a question? I heard somebody go off mute. Okay. So earnest money, closing, right? Incredibly strong lender letter. As strong as it can be. And that's one of the things I love about Jay and Carl is that, clear to close is so powerful. And it can be done in such a quick amount of time. And that's why it's so important to get those folks pre-qualified as soon as you start looking, so that when you find the right house, all that homework has been done, all the due diligence has been done, all the lender has to do is write strong. You want that letter to be as strong as it can be, so that if it's competing with cash, you got a chance. So earnest money, closing, a strong letter, obviously price. And here's the thing. I just think that people need to be really, really careful about, let's see if we can get them to do this, but I'm really actually willing to go here. I would at least get them to meet you in the middle. So, let's say it's $495, we're going to put $495, but we'd be willing to, to accept $520. I'd be going up over $5, $505, $506, whatever, meet in the middle someplace, so that, I've seen two different situations just in the last week or 10 days where we lost contracts at a price that they would have bought it if they'd known that's what the seller wanted. And so all we're trying to do is protect and, give that information to our buyers so that the buyers understand it, and then they can make the decision. Yeah, I understand that. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, but I still want to offer $495. Well, that's their, that's what we're due. Okay, we'll write it up at $495. Or I understand what you're saying, but I whatever. And you say, okay, great. I just want to make sure you understood that, and we're going to write this up, and I'm going to do the best job I can to get the offer to so that it's acceptable. So again, earnest money, closing, down payment, a strong lender letter, and then the last thing is, contingencies. I'm not saying waive the contingencies. I'm not a big believer in waiving the contingencies for a home inspection or things like that. The home inspection, gives you a way of getting out. If something comes up that you weren't aware of, and I can promise you, I've seen a number of them, or heard about a number of them where they got into the house and there were things that they just couldn't see visually, that they were so grateful that they, had that out. And then the last thing I would say is, even if you're going up to the 520 number, I would put in the other terms that the contract is subject to property appraising for the agreed upon sales price. you want to make sure, again, there's nothing in the contract that talks about appraisals other than with FHA and VA. So you want to have something in there because at some point you're going to have to remove the financial contingency. And if the appraisal hasn't been done yet for some reason or another, you do not want to remove that or be forced to move it and then have the appraisal come in low after the fact. So it's real simple. In the other terms, this contract's subject to property appraising at the contract price or above. And that way you put everybody on notice that is something. Now, it could be the seller strikes that and says, we don't want that. Well, again, you're in control at that point. Your buyer can make a decision as to whether or not, and then what you're going to do is scramble and make sure you get that appraisal done within the time period of the financial contingency. Because as we know, the finance contingency gives you an out. If in 30 days you find that you're not financially able to do what you said you could do, you've done it all your due diligence, but you can't qualify, the interest rates went up or whatever the case would be, you have the ability to get out, and you want that appraisal done in that time period, because if it doesn't appraise for the price and you can't get your loan to value scenario worked out, then that's a legitimate reason for giving notice that that we want out. And quite honestly, that puts pressure on the seller to try to make it work versus to have to put their house back on the market and start all over again. So anyway, those are just some quick things that I just wanted to make sure I went back over again. Questions that you have or things that have happened that I haven't mentioned?
Michael, I have buyers from New York and they can't get down here because of quarantine. I mean, it's not in the buyer presentation, but like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like literally they're like this, they're trying everything they can to get down, but they cannot return to New York without a 14-day quarantine.
Oh, that's right. Well,
and they have the means now to purchase and they're interested in purchasing. And now I'm losing momentum. She's like, well, I don't know. We have tried again and again to make this work. And I don't feel comfortable like not following the rules. And, it just is completely stalled me out. And I just didn't know if you had any strategies.
The only strategy I would have, and I'm sure you're already doing that, is when properties come up that you think meet their needs, to go FaceTime with them, show them it that way.
Right.
And if in fact, there's one that just jumps off and they say, oh my gosh, this is it. You write the contract. Obviously they haven't seen it, but you make it contingent with enough time on a home inspection, which gives them the opportunity to get out. And then if it's really the house they want, somebody's got to make a decision to come down and do what they need to do. And then, go back to New York and quarantine or whatever the case may be. I think that's the only thing. I mean, I think that's what I would be doing and I wouldn't overwhelm them with them, but them enough now as to what you think would jazz them versus not. So don't bother them with ones that you don't. But if there's one that just jumps off, say, oh my gosh, this just came on the market. It's exactly what you've been looking for. When's the time where I can go over there and show it to you, through FaceTime, and so that you can make a decision as to what you want to do. But other than that, I hear you. I understand that.
They're not 100% certain what neighborhood they want after coming for 3 days, so
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I mean, I've tried to, and it's just frustrating. I mean, other people are just ignoring the rules because they don't really check. And so if they needed to come, especially since we're rural, if they needed to come and just stay one night or whatever.
Yeah, and we're not a hot spot either, so.
No, but she's nervous about.
Well, Virginia's on the list, unfortunately, because of Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads. But they're not looking at it from a regional standpoint. I wonder if there's somebody that they could talk to up there that would be able to say, to check Charlottesville and then be able to say, yes, that would be a place you could go and come back. Maybe they could get with their county health people and just say, hey, we need to go to Charlottesville because we need to purchase a house. Here are their numbers. It's not a hot spot. Can we do that and legitimately come home and not have to quarantine?
So could the health department give them an exemption essentially?
I'm just wondering, that because they made Virginia a state that says you got to quarantine. Not all the states are make people quarantine going back to New York.
I know, just got added to the list. Like literally, they plan their trip for next week,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
got.
Yeah, so I would check with their local health department and just say, hey, we had a house buying trip next week. We're going to Virginia. I understand it's on the list, but we're going to a place where it's not a hotspot. So you might try that, and then if they get a letter from them, then they're traveling and coming back, and if somebody stops, police stop them or something coming from Connecticut into New York or whatever, they have a letter that says, hey, we got approval to do this.
Good idea.
Okay, and a local health department would be just like in their town, essentially.
Yeah, just like the Thomas Jefferson Health District here.
Yeah. Okay.
All you got to do is watch the news, and you know who I talked to Jim Smith. He's on every night, or whatever his name is. But that would be what I would try to do and they may because it's Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia,
Right.
and you say we won't stop in either of those places.
Right.
So
I'll try
that's
it.
a thought. Yeah.
Good
Great.
point.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
Just so you guys know too, if you ever have this situation, I've also been sort of videoing through some neighborhoods and sending the video forward. So I was in Fox Chase the other day, and I was driving, but extremely slowly. And I was just showing like how far apart the houses were spaced, showing that there were some mountain views. So again, just utilizing video and
That's
it doesn't
great.
replace coming, but it's something you can provide if they are unfamiliar or don't want too much congestion or whatever. I mean, the camera is a great thing.
And Logan, what I would do with those is obviously you're doing that for a client, but there's nothing wrong with putting those onto your Facebook and YouTube pages. Just say, hey, I was driving through Fox Chase, thought that, this is just a, amateur person, but just so you know, this is a really cool neighborhood, and let me, I'm just going to share this video with you. It's a couple minutes long, and just start putting those out onto your feed.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that. I'm trying to do something every day.
Yeah. And just so you know, I think the emails have just come across, but Brittany Trimmer from Movement Mortgage is going to do webinars for us the 6th and the 13th of August, one on FaceTime and one on Instagram marketing. So Vincent and I had worked with Jay and Carl on that, and she hasn't done any webinars. She was doing webinars for sort of over the, her marketplace. She's going to do these specifically for Roy Wheeler. So I think it's going to be the 6th and 13th. I think I just got the emails across my screen, but I didn't get a chance to look at them. So those will happen. And then Thursday morning at 10, if you're free, please join us, because Kate Ryan and Pat Flynn are going to be on, two exceptional realtors in Northern Virginia, talking about how they've built their business. And they both do it in incredible ways. And I'm going to try to get them to go back to sort of the beginning as to what they did, because, they're both, multi-million-dollar producers. But they've done it all through the, referral only sort of thought process. And they're just good people. Kate and Pat have both been in our office before to talk. And they were, I asked them, and they, without a hesitation, they said, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. So I'm looking forward to that. And Logan, McKeith, and the folks from the statewide Synergy group, I'm going to include them in that. So they'll be with us Thursday at 10. So that'll be fun for the rest of you guys to get to know some folks from other parts of the state. Anything else? Barb.
I have a question, kind of backing up to when you were talking about making your buyer's offers as strong as possible. People still do have that chance, if another offer is there, to give their highest and best, don't they? Don't most?
Only if the seller gives you that option. That's the whole point of why I'm saying this. You would hope that they would, but if they get a better offer that's clean and has everything that they wanted, you know, if I'm the listing agent, I'm saying sign this sucker and get it back and deliver it. So we got a ratified contract. Let's not mess with anything else at this point. What you don't want to do is be in a position, Barb, of finding out that, hey, we got a better offer and we accepted it. Sorry. And you go, well, why didn't you give us a chance? Well, because we had what we wanted. You know, where the highest and best comes in is where you got a couple deals that, you know, are pretty close to each other terms wise, and they don't want to deal with escalation clauses and things like that. So they just come back to you and say, look, we got two that we're competing with. I can see those trees going by, Vince. We got two that we're competing with, and you got till 5 o'clock tonight to give us your highest and best, because we got to figure out if somebody's going to separate themselves. But they don't have to give you that option if they don't want to.
Okay.
Great question. Great question.
Another thing that I noticed last week, I think it was through Roy Wheeler, we were watching a not an open house, but a video through a house. I think that was one of ours. And I noticed it was way, way, way too long and slow. Back in Illinois, when we had software for, I can't remember the name, Visual
Tour.
Yeah.
We still have that at Roy Wheeler.
We would put it together with the music and with it. They always encouraged us to make it short enough to hold their attention. And that one we were watching was like really slow motion going through the house. And just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And again, you know, Vincent can speak to this. He just shot a 360 the other day for a 7,000 square foot home. Well, that's a lot of rooms that you gotta video and show. So if you're just trying to pique people's attention. So again, going back to the listing part of it, one of the things I'm going to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is I'm going to do a FaceTime live video of your home on Friday, inviting people to the open house on Sunday from 1 to 3. That's where you want to keep it short, Barb. You just give them a quick through. Yeah, this is the house, not too fast so that people get sick, but a quick, you know, through the house. And hey, I look forward to seeing you. On Sunday from 1 to 3. But if it's a video like Vincent just did for a listing where you're doing a virtual 360 tour so that people see the whole house, because like Logan's people in New York, they can't get here. They want to see the whole house. Then the length isn't as important, because they're making that decision to watch that because it's something of interest to them.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
I thought it was interesting. This is the day of the blue and white striped shirts. Vincent and you and me. I don't know if that's.
There you go. Hey, with the rest of you guys, get with it, would you?
Yeah, all right.
And hopefully we'll see you guys at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Carolina blue, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
All right.
All blue.